I've been in America for more than 10 years now, away from Hungary or away from my culture, from my family, and I kind of started noticing with myself that I am a little bit losing my identity, my traditions. I started asking myself this question: when does somebody get to that point when they feel like they've been away from their culture and their country for so long that they feel that they kind of their personality and their identity changed, molded in some different way. So that's what I wanted to discuss today. And yes, I'm wearing one of my t-shirts that I'm selling on the Getting Married Multiculturally online shop. This design that I made is representing the Hungarian flag, and the words are the name of the colors in Hungarian. So piros means red, fehér means white, and zöld means green. And if you're thinking about grabbing one for yourself, or you know somebody who you think would enjoy wearing this t-shirt, then this is a perfect time to grab one because on my online shop I'm running a 10% off this week of everything Hungary related, anything Hungarian, t-shirts, pillows, or miniature bottles. So from March 15th until next Friday, March 22nd, you can grab everything 10% off. The website is shop.editvashadi.com. And the reasons I'm having this sale is, well, first of all, because the topic of this episode is pretty relevant. The other reason is that today is actually a pretty big Hungarian holiday. March 15th is when we are celebrating the revolution. And on this day, March 15th, every Hungarian would wear this Hungarian flag little decoration that's called kokarda. I think in English it's called Rosetta, but I'm not sure. That's just what I Googled, but I might be wrong, so let me know if I am. But it's basically supposed to be a Hungarian flag, or can be a circle like this one that people would attach to their shirt as a celebration and memory of this holiday. This is my little DIY kokarda because I couldn't really purchase any real one here in America. I'm still waiting to get one from my family, but for now I'm just gonna wear this one. I already talked with you guys about some of my culture shocks that I experienced when I moved here to America. And I do feel like I'm becoming more and more American as my girls grow up and they have more and more questions about life, as I go through more and more journeys with my husband, with my career here. I'm using English definitely more than Hungarian. The way I cook, the way I consume and go shopping, buy groceries, make friends, or how I interact with other people, with locals, or with foreign people who are new to this country. So I did started noticing these changes in me. And I asked myself this question: is it even possible for somebody to lose their identity, lose their cultural identity, lose their cultural traditions, the language especially? And is it possible that we can adopt a new one completely 100% that we would feel as our own? We would feel like we never even had any other cultures in our life. I feel like last couple of years that I'm really starting to struggle with this too. I tend to just adopt and accept that we are as a family more American just because we live here. It might be just a natural evolvement as you live in a different country for this long time. And only when somebody would come to visit us here in America from Hungary, mostly my family is who comes, then I get to compare and see the difference and notice and reflect on myself. Notice that, oh yeah, I am really giving up on this, or I forgot that this is how I used to cook, or I forgot that this is how I used to interact with strangers, or I forgot that this is how we used to be with kids in Hungary, even how we used to say something in Hungarian. So these are funny little things that in my everyday life I don't notice, I kind of forget about, and then when we have somebody coming from the culture that is tend to fade away from us, we kind of get into this realization and this comparison that, oh yeah, I kind of do want to pull back and get back into where I am, where I used to be, and where I came from. You know, when I go home to Hungary to visit, it is definitely a vacation for us. It's kind of a really weird feeling, and I think only people who have this kind of lifestyle, what I do, would understand this feeling when you go home, when you go back somewhere that used to be your home for a long time, and it just becomes this weird vacation slash nostalgic traveling back in time feeling, which is definitely, both of these are positive and good and very emotional and sentimental feelings. And that's why I think me and other people also enjoy and love going back to their home country. You kind of get into this feeling of, okay, I'm home, but then you realize how many things have changed already. The language is kind of becoming more rough and rusty for you. Maybe you don't understand some jokes, anything that runs in current culture, that you feel like you're kind of out of the loop. In the first couple of days, you feel like, oh man, I really wish I could just come back and live here again. And then you a little bit realize that this isn't really the reality anymore. I don't know if you had that kind of realization going back to your hometown. I know it also depends on the reason you left that town, because this wasn't my first time adopting a new culture. We moved from Serbia to Hungary, and then in Hungary I had to adopt this different Hungarian culture than what I used to have in Serbia. Then I moved in Italy, where it was a complete different culture again that I really enjoy to explore. And then after that, all of a sudden I was in America. I feel really lucky that I was able to find a group of Hungarians here in Phoenix, Arizona. These people are helping me to keep my traditions alive, to motivate me to teach my kids, my girls, that being half Hungarian is a good thing, to be proud of their heritage and proud of their mixed culture, where their mom is coming from. And then also I'm able to make some friends and feel a little bit less homesick with this group of people. When I lived in Serbia, when I was younger, we did have lots of Hungarians there, which is pretty normal. I even went to Hungarian school. But in the same time, being outside of your country kind of forces you to nurture your cultural traditions even more so. What I'm trying to say is, when you are not in your cultural environment, then you feel more like you do want to nurture this holiday or this tradition. And that's kind of where I am right now in my life. And this is why I appreciate these group of people that I met here in Phoenix so much. We have actually created an association, Hungarian Cultural Association of Phoenix, and I'm also a board member of this association, which I'm very excited about. And I am so honored that I get to be on this board and I get to be part of our event planning and show my children how important this is, and I put a lot of work into that. So we have lots of events. We are actually going to have one coming up on March 23rd. It's going to be a Heritage Day. It takes a lot of time and energy to plan these events, but at the end, when everybody gets together and everybody's just enjoying themselves on this day, you really feel like how much this is it was all worth it. And I really hope that my girls see that, and not just my girls, but also my husband sees how important this is to nurture our culture and to make sure that you put enough time and effort into keeping up with this. And that actually helped me a lot to feel like I'm not losing my cultural identity. As I speak with people who are not Americans and living here, I kind of noticed this behavior in people. Those who are here for a shorter time, for a couple of years, they tend to be more homesick. They feel like they're regretting their decision and that maybe they want to go back to their original country. They miss their family, not just their country and not just the lifestyle that they're used to and they feel familiar with, but also their families and their friends. Another group of people who lived here for so long, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and they had completely adopted the American culture and lifestyle here, that going back would be actually really challenging for them. It would be really hard. They even speak and write English easier, and most likely they're not even thinking about going back. Maybe they go sometime for a vacation, but even vacation times and visits are rare. I don't want to judge them because I see how hard it is, especially if your spouse is not Hungarian. So I kind of noticed these two group of people, and I was thinking, where do I fall into between these two groups? And I think I am kind of in between right now. I definitely don't feel as homesick as I used to be when I was here in the first couple of years, but I don't feel like I am losing completely my Hungarian language or traditions or memories that I have from Hungary. And I really, really hope that I will never get to that point. I'm still glad that I do get nostalgic and that I do get homesick, because that just shows that it's part of your heart that you will never lose. And I feel so lucky that I get to go home and visit my family every summer. When I go back, I feel so refreshed and energized and happy. My husband always tells me how happy I am when I'm back there. I'm trying to see it in a positive way and be thankful and grateful that I get to go back so often, and that when I do, this feeling is actually something that makes you richer, because you have this culture, this place that is really close to your heart and it forever will be. And then when we go back, I'm kind of expecting this familiarity, expecting that I'm gonna feel home, but all of a sudden everything feels so different and distant. And I'm bringing my family with me, my husband who's American, so I am already different from Hungarians who live in Hungary. And it's just a very interesting experience, because these are not only happening through my eyes, but also through my husband's eyes, who is coming to a country that's foreign for him, and we're spending there our time as it's my house. So I'm sure that he sees me differently, from a different perspective when we are in Hungary, and I see him differently too, because then he all of a sudden becomes this foreigner, this person who doesn't belong when here in America that's not the case at all. So it's that's another thing, and it's an interesting twist that happens as you are on the airplane and then you land. All of a sudden we just switch. How do you say that? I don't know, you know what I'm trying to say. We all of a sudden become have this different dynamic in our relationship, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, I'm very, very excited to start planning our summer trip in Hungary, and we're gonna try to stay there for the whole month of June, especially because it's very, very hot here during the summertime in Arizona. So I'm glad that we can have a place where we can escape from this heat. And I'm very excited to be taking some more pictures to explore more about my home, about my culture, and as I mature, I feel like there are more. I'm getting more nostalgic, and I want to grab those memories as much as I can. And another thing I am super excited about is that one of my goals is to find a couple who is getting married in June in Hungary, and who needs a wedding photographer. If you know somebody, or if you are getting married in Hungary or pretty much anywhere in Europe at that point, I'm willing to travel, and I will not charge a traveling cost, but it has to be in June because that's the time when I'm going to be in Europe. You can email me at info@editvasadi.com, or you can go to europe.editvashadi.com. There's the website that I put together for specifically for couples who are looking to hire me for their wedding photography in Europe. Maybe if you're getting married next year, I will also be there. Okay, so let's recap this whole conversation about losing my cultural identity. And some of the reasons I feel like I am losing it is, well, first of all, I don't feel like I'm speaking Hungarian enough. With my girls, I'm not watching any Hungarian movie. I'm not reading Hungarian books at all. I talk with my family only occasionally on FaceTime or Skype, and not as often as I used to. My husband did promise me when we met that he's going to learn Hungarian, but I don't think he realized actually how hard a language it is. So we're still working on that, although he is saying that he does understands most of the things that I say. Thankfully, I have the Hungarian Association here in Phoenix that when I have the opportunity to express myself in my own language, which is pretty refreshing. And the second reason is because I get so lazy with our holidays, with our holiday traditions. I think mostly the Christmas is the only time when I put so much time and effort into nurturing these holiday traditions, into showing my kids what kind of traditions we have in Hungary around Christmas time. But there's so much more than just that holiday, right? Like today, wearing the kokarda is something that I should really think about. And thankfully for this podcast, I do more researches. I educate myself more about my culture, because I should have listened on history class at school, right? But my point is that, what was my point? I really want to force myself to talk with my kids about our traditions and about some kind of holidays, that why we do them and why we have them, put decorations in our home about it, put pictures on our walls about a specific event or holiday. It's not just for me, maybe it's mostly for me, so I can feel more like I belong somewhere and that I'm not losing this identity. But it's also for my kids to feel like they inherited this culture and that they want to be proud of it. I think that's my main goal and mission, that I want my girls to be proud of their mom being Hungarian and them being half Hungarian. The third reason I feel like I'm losing my cultural identity is because I don't feel homesick as often as maybe I should be, or maybe somebody who has their cultural identity in themselves stronger. I don't know if this is something that gets developed throughout the years, or this is a personality thing. I think it's a little bit of both. But since I already had to do this jump in my life when I moved from Serbia to Hungary, which was definitely a closer distance. It took us only 5-7 hours to drive to Serbia. So we had more occasions to travel back to Serbia and visit our family, grandparents, and everything. Well, not during the war, but after that, we did go back a lot. And every time we went back, we had this nostalgic homesickness feeling, and I'm even choking up right now when we left our grandparents and waving at them at the I never really cried on a video, so I'm sorry, but waving at my grandma from the back seat of the car, and knowing that I'm probably not gonna see her for a long time, and now she passed away, so maybe that's why I'm so emotional. I never cried for the camera. This is so weird. Okay, Edit, get yourself together. So yeah, I know what getting homesick means, and I know what it feels to have something taken out of your heart, and something that you know that nothing can replace it. So anyway, nothing will be able to replace the feelings I have from the place, the country, and the culture that I had when I grew up. And I think we can feel so attached to this feeling. Even if I am 100% Hungarian, I grew up in Serbia, and that homesickness feeling will never go away for me. This is why I wanted to have this episode and talk with you guys about these feelings, because instead of feeling sad that we left something and that we left something behind and feeling betrayed, or feeling that our family is upset of us, or anything that happened in your life, not feeling the same with your partner because they're from a different culture and they have this different admiration in their heart, or they have these different feelings in their heart. All right, this was definitely the hardest for me to talk about, but let's move on to number 4 of why I feel like I'm losing my cultural identity is my everyday routines, everyday life. I feel like I'm becoming more American. I'm becoming more the way just how I interact with people, the strangers, or the little chit chats with people, like I mentioned on my culture shocks, things that I had and experienced as a culture shock 10 years ago are now just becoming an everyday life, and they're not a big deal. If I see a sign somewhere, if a stranger wants to talk to me about what my plans are for tonight. And then number 5 is I'm not talking that much with my family anymore, and with my friends either. In the beginning, it was interesting. It was a lot of excitement when I moved here, and I felt really much attached to my family, to talk to them, and my friends. We used to call each other every day. My mom would call me every day, and we would talk for hours on a Skype. And I know back then it was different because I was home, I couldn't work, and then I was pregnant, and then we had a little baby. So it was a lot of things were happening in my life that I wanted to share, and they wanted to see Mira grow up. And I had a lot of experiences that was happening in my life that I wanted to share. And by now, like, everything kind of wore out. It's after 10 years, there's not much that you can tell to your family. We still stay in contact daily, but we would just send each other a quick picture. We'd just snap a photo of something. So at the end, if I would have to answer this question that I put up for myself in the title, I would say yes, I am losing my cultural identity. But it's actually a good thing because as I mentioned before that the culture shocks that I had moving to America, now I kind of came out of that shock, well, a while ago, but as I came out of that shock, I molded into this completely different person, this completely different cultural identity, which is a beautiful mixture of all of those cultures, all the traditions and routines that I experienced in my life, starting from Serbia, in Hungary, Italy, and now America. And I'm also able to experience a lot of differences with my kids and my husband and seeing my families come here and show me something that I wouldn't see with my eye, and when I go back I see something different that I would have never noticed or never appreciated if I stay in Hungary. And if I live my whole life there, I would have never been able to value things in my life that I do now, leaving that place. Whew. Okay, guys, I feel like this was a pretty rough episode for me, just lots of emotions and a lot of talking about myself, which kind of always gives me a little bit of anxiety and nervousness, but I feel like a lot of you can really benefit from this and see that you're not alone, that you're not the only one who struggles with these feelings, who feels homesick but then feels guilty that they don't feel homesick. So I'm gonna be done talking about this because I feel like I could just go on and on with my thoughts and with my feelings that I have around this topic, but I'm gonna end this episode. So again, if you want to check out some of my Hungarian products that I have on my shop, or if you like this t-shirt that I'm wearing, you can get everything 10% off. You just have to go to shop.editvasadi.com and you can find everything there. And next week I will be my topic is going to be about wedding photography, hiring a wedding photographer. So if that's something you're interested about, then don't forget to tune in next Friday. Well, the video will be released on Wednesday, but I'm posting my podcasts every Friday morning. Morning for me. I think it's pretty much an evening time in Europe. So anyway, I'm posting the podcasts on Friday, and then the video of that episode goes out on Facebook and on YouTube on Wednesday, so you can check those out there. Thank you so much again for watching this video. I will talk to you guys next week. Bye everybody.